got Jason McKie, who will be on the sideline once again for our coverage of Bears and Ravens in Baltimore in Week 8 on Sunday. He joins us now, as he does every Thursday at this time, on the Yingling guest hotline. Jason, thanks as always. I have to imagine, I hope you had some Kleenex with you on the sidelines on Sunday, because I would have to imagine a tear it must have come to your eye a few times there in that fourth quarter. Watching the Bears completely impose their will on another team on the ground was something special to see. And for a former fullback like yourself, you had to love every second of that.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. It was the old school formula, one that I'm real familiar with in terms of running the football, playing really good defense, generating takeaways that leads to short fields for the offense to put points on the board. So it was good. It was good to see both offense and defensive lines really take control of that game. And that's what really powered that win for the Bears this past week.
What are you seeing right now in this run game that is making it so much more successful? If you could just break it down a little bit in layman's terms, like what is it that Ben Johnson and his staff kind of figured out over the bye that they've used to their advantage the last couple of games?
Yeah, I think they're just in terms of the running scheme, they're still running a lot of the same schemes, right? The zone, outside zone, the same gap schemes. We've seen a lot of count, we've seen a lot of power, stuff like that. But the way he's doing it in terms of, getting the guys, in motions and shifts, giving his guys angles to make their blocks, but also giving themselves a numbers advantage to the side of the ball in which they're running. It's really helped a lot. And I think in terms of the offensive defensive line, those guys are just playing cleaner. They're actually getting double teams, working better, getting to the second level, and really executing their blocks at a high level right now. And then the running backs are hitting that football downhill. So it's been good to see.
Jurko gave us the breakdown of what Baltimore is going to look at here getting ready for this game. And they're going to see and probably really, sort of drill home this week whoever's got the backside responsibility on a lot of these run plays better be buttoned up and better sort of understand their responsibility, because that's where the Bears are kind of killing teams, it seems like, right now. There were a few easy things that even you don't have to have an expert eye to see, where it was just some overcommitment, over pursuit, guys getting caught in the wash, and backside just wide open for the Bears against the Saints on Sunday. So how do you think teams are going to start to counter this when they look at the tape of the last couple of weeks and they see just how dominant the Bears have been on the ground?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it goes back to defenses, even the Bears defense, something we saw early on in the season just wasn't disciplined in terms of everybody, being in the right gap, understanding their role, understanding where their fit is in terms of that defensive call. And on the backside, it's really just, on the backside of the formation, defensive formation, you're looking for what we call BCR, boot cutback, or the reverse, or anything like that. So it's just a matter of, playing true to your responsibilities, and the Bears have really taken advantage of it. You look at the passing game. Yes, it wasn't as good on Sunday, but it seems like whenever Ben Johnson wants to get Caleb comfortable, or he wants to get him in rhythm, right, he goes to what we call a boot action play, which you fake outside zone one way, you get Caleb on the move the other way, and then you run what we call a levels concept, where you have a flat, you have an intermediate route and a deep route. And that really gets Caleb comfortable. And if you have that backside defensive end, or that backside of that defense, isn't true to their responsibilities, you get an easy completion because there's so much movement involved. And that's what we've seen from the Bears. Whenever he wants to get Caleb in a rhythm or get a good completion, he goes to that type of play.
The Bears forced 4 turnovers the other day. Should have been 6, actually. I mean, they had their hands on footballs. They were beating each other up trying to get to the football. How difficult will it be to sustain this against Baltimore?
Yeah, with Lamar Jackson coming back, look, he's only played 4 games, but he's only has 1 interception to 10 touchdowns. So that ratio is, he's been really good when he's been playing. We know what type of player he is. I saw a stat the other day when he's in the lineup. Since he's been in the lineup this year, they've averaged 32 points a game. So he's a guy that's going to take care of the football. But as we know, it can beat you in a variety of ways, ways that only he can do because he has that type of elite God-given talent. So I think it'll be tough. Derrick Henry's had some fumbles. I think you may have an opportunity to be able to get one from him. He's had 3 on the year. So it's just like Coach Dennis Allen says, populating the football, right? First man in, make the tackle, fit the running back up or the ball carrier up. Second man in, you're going to try to strip that ball out. So if anything, I like her chances against Derrick Henry, but Lamar Jackson is just not going to put that ball in harm's way.
Lamar has played all but 2 teams in the NFL in his career, guys. The Bears are one of them. This will be the first time the Bears play Lamar. Now, that doesn't mean that guys on the defense have never seen him because, of course, we know how frequently guys kind of move around. But when you haven't seen him as a team, I guess there's no mystery. We all get to watch the brilliance of Lamar Jackson, right, J-Mac? I mean, like, we know how great he is. They're watching tape. They're watching film. But, I don't know, is there something to all of a sudden when you're on the field with him for some of these guys, maybe for the very first time, it's just like, oh, my gosh, he is sort of a totally different animal in a lot of ways.
Definitely. I mean, you can watch speed on film, but until you're actually out there, you see that speed in person, or if you're a defender trying to pursue a quarterback that has the talent level of a Lamar Jackson, it's going to be different. And not only that, I think over the years, if you've watched his game, coming into the league, he was just a guy that whenever he needed to make a play, he ran out of the pocket. But now he's grown and developed into a passer that he can beat you from standing within the pocket as well. And they've done a good job offensively there in Baltimore, and Coach Harbaugh and his staff have done a good job of making sure that they play to his strengths, devising game plans in which they can utilize all his abilities, not just his ability to be able to extend plays with his legs, but his ability to be able to get the ball out quick, get him in situations where he has an opportunity to complete high percentage passes. And that's what we've seen, and that's why he's been so successful. And that team under Coach Harbaugh has been so successful year in and year out.
What do you like about the way Ben Johnson delivers his message, whether it's to his team, to the media, just his general presence as far as what you've observed since he's been here?
Yeah, I just love it because you can tell he's confident. He's confident in his method. He's confident in the system. He's confident in his expectations and standards. And he's clear and concise. So it's no gray area in terms of what the expectation level is. There's no gray area in terms of if you play bad, he's going to tell you play bad. He takes ownership of his own mistakes. We've heard him time and time again come up to the podium and say, hey, you know what, I've got to make a better call, or I've got to get the play in faster. And that's a leader. When a leader can take blame, sit up there and take the blame and hold himself accountable, then everybody else will follow. And that's what the guys have done. I feel like the team has bought in. He exudes energy, not just him, but his coaching staff. They're full of energy. They know what they're talking about. And guys are responding to it, and we're seeing the results right now.
67 rush attempts, I believe, if I've got that number correct, the last 2 games. It's a lot of rush attempts, and so you're going to take away from some of the drop-back attempts. But one thing Jurko and I talked about earlier in the week was just still kind of how little, to a certain degree, Colson Loveland's been involved in this offense. The tight ends in general, Kmet wasn't targeted much last year. They're on pace to combine for just about 50 catches combined this year. Do you think at some point that might change? And this is not an indictment on on Colson Loveland at all. But do you think when you draft a guy 10th overall, at some point would they like to get him incorporated more? And do you see that happening down the line?
Yeah, I'd hope so. I mean, because when you look at the year that Tyler Warren's having,
yes,
I mean, it's like mind-boggling. And don't get me wrong, we've seen the tape. That run game has been really effective due to Cole Kmet and Colson Loveland. I mean, they have some great blocks, especially out on the perimeter. I mean, they fantastic blocks out in space, which is really difficult to do. But I would love to see them guys get targeted more. And Ben Johnson talked about it yesterday, right at the podium. He said, hey, Luther Burden deserves to get more footballs. I want to get Rome more targets. DJ's got to get targets. The key is Colston, Cole. There's a lot of mouths to feed. But, it's as good when you have to find ways because you have so many weapons. But a weapon that we would love to see is a Colston Moore involved in this offense, along with Cole Kmet, because those guys have that type of ability to be factors and create mismatches and really, put pressure on a defense.
Do you see the Bears being buyers at the trade deadline?
I don't know, man. I have no idea. This thing either way. I mean, there's some talent out there. There's always ways that you can help. And, we hear pros talk about it all the time, like, we're going to do everything we can to improve this roster to make sure that we're always a competitor. So I'm not sure how it would go. We'll see what happens.
J-Mac, thanks, buddy. Safe travels this weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
There's Jason McKie, part of our network broadcast team, and your home for the Bears, joining us on the Yingling Guest Hotline. Talk Loveland looked terrific as a blocker last week. Got a very good PFF grade for what it's worth, too, in run blocking last week, Yerk. Now, you had made the comment to me when I brought it up earlier in the week. You said, yeah, but you don't draft him 10th overall to be a great blocker. What you hope does happen, though, and I think you'd agree with this, is that if we see all the things we expect to see out of Colston Loveland in the pass game at some point, and you combo that with his ability to block, and you have a player like George Kittle, let's say, who's excelled in his career at both, then you really do feel like you've hit the jackpot, right? Yeah. That's what you want. If you're going to be spending a 10th overall pick, that's what you want to have happen at some point.
I got the quote of what Ben said about him yesterday.
You want me to play it? I can play it.
Oh, you got it?
Loveland?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's play. I'll play it right here. This is about, I think this is the one you're talking about. Can Colston Loveland handle a little bit more in this offense right now? Here's Ben Johnson talking about it at the podium yesterday.
I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, since he's entered the building, for a rookie, he's one of the more professional guys I've ever been around. His approach to practice, to meetings, it's outstanding. And so, mentally he can handle all of it. And then physically, I think he continues to grow.
I don't think Ben BS's a lot. I don't think he placates to players or says things that he thinks people want to hear. I don't think he's throwing around compliments willy-nilly. At least that's my read on him early on. So to hear that is encouraging, I think. Is that the one you were talking about, or do you have something else?
I've got a different one.
Go ahead.
Pleased with how Colston is playing, and I know the production, called 6 games into it, isn't what any of us maybe had looked for from a numbers perspective. But he's impacting games in a very positive fashion, and he's a reason why our offense is going to continue to get better.
Okay.
So that's the way he feels
combo
about
those
it.
two things.
He knows the next 6, the final 6 games will probably be better than the first 6 games because he's going to develop in the offense, and Caleb hopefully becomes more comfortable. Mm-hmm. Remember, the guy that decides where the football goes and doesn't go
ultimately Caleb
is the quarterback. The guy that decides whether we're going to be successful or not is usually the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. So, here's Ben Johnson on the red zone struggles, and it's been, listen.
It's a struggle.
It's a smaller sample here, but it's a struggle.
Well, the fact that Jake Moody has got 8 field goals in 9 attempts.
That'll tell you.
Will tell you what the struggle's like for the Chicago Bears in the red zone.
The last 3 weeks, the last 3 games for the Bears, 31% in the red zone, 34% on third down. They're not, and third down's a pretty high variance down. I understand that there can be vast fluctuations week to week in small data sets. Yes, a lot of variance. It's a high variance down. You don't maybe worry about too much over just 3 games, but 31% in the red zone over 3 games. Not great. Here was Ben Johnson talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, I think the passing game, I think we can do a better job throughout the week, just making sure we all see it the same. Normally that stuff goes in at the end of the week, and so you only get 1 rep of it, and it's a little bit newer, particularly some of those designer concepts. And so there's been a few of those where the defense hasn't given us the coverage we wanted, or we just simply haven't done a good job progressing to the next fast enough. And so that's something that Caleb's learning, and I think he'll be better there. And as always, we need to be efficient running the ball down there. I think it usually starts with that.
He loves running the ball down there. The Bears actually run the ball in the red zone at one of the higher rates in the NFL, Yerk. And I think he did a lot of that when he was in Detroit, too. So he does like that aspect of their offense in there. You just got to be more productive. And Jurko always says it. He's been saying it for years. You got to get 7, not 3, when you're down there. And you got to make the most of those opportunities. 7, not 3, is what you've all. It's as simple as that.
7s and 3s and 3s and 7s.
And 3s and 7s. That's right, Yerk. Is what you've always said. And they'll figure it out, I think, because every time he tells you they're going to work on something, they seem to figure it out a little bit.